Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Rob Ingram. How y'all doing? I wanted to go ahead and say I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to get this thing cranked yet. I actually ordered some parts from Amazon, and that's kind of what I've been waiting on, is just for the Amazon box to come in. So once it's here, hey Rob, your Amazon box showed up. Hey guys, so let's talk about what we're going to do today. We're going to crank this thing. That's what we're going to do, or at least give it our #1 attempt. Now, I'm going to snatch the top post battery out of the 66 just because I'm not going to pay $200 for a battery yet until I'm ready to actually start driving this thing. I'm going to turn it over without the plugs in it because that way there'll be no actual compression, just to make sure the engine isn't locked up. I turned it a little bit by the fan. Grabbed the fan blade and kind of pushed it, and you can feel it move. The other part is I don't know if the clutch and the flywheel are now considered one. So then the next thing we're going to do is actually just put a good set of plugs, Motorcraft plugs in it. Then we're going to put a rotary button and cap on it. And then we're going to put a set of brand new plug wires on. Next, we're going to take time and clean out the carburetor and get rid of that big old cobweb that's been hanging out in there for there. And then we're going to hook up the battery again and turn it over and see if she'll crank. I'm going to use a little bit of starter fluid just to see if she'll start today. Also, the reason is you know, we put all that Marvel Mystery oil down inside of the cylinders, and that's leaked down into the oil. I really don't want to run that oil any more than I need to until I change it. But I at least want to turn it over and get it to crank. So anyways, let's see if we can get this thing put back together and cranked. Now first things first, we're going to spray down that carburetor with the gum out cleaner just to get rid of the cobweb that's currently living on it. So let's do that first. Alright, we've got a good hot battery and we got cables, so let's go ahead and hook those up real quick and see. I love the fact, now I know it's not a big deal and I can figure it out fairly easy. I'm kind of a smart guy, but why would you make both cables red? Couldn't you make at least one black, or at least put something black on it, like a piece of black tape? Anyways, I mean, it's not too hard. All you gotta do is follow it down to which one goes to the ground and which one's the starter. And winner, winner, chicken dinner, I think. All right, so this one is clearly going to the engine and ground it, and this one is my hot. So, woo, that's a good sign. Look at that. Looks like we have a blinker at least. Let's go ahead and turn that off. I don't think we need that. All right, moment of truth. Let's put the key in and see if the engine at least turn over, huh? And let's see what happens. Ready? Let's see. Woo! That's a good sign. She turns perfect. All right, now let's throw some plugs in this bad boy, get some fuel going. I mean, that's all this thing needs. It's a you know, 4.9. It's a 300. That's all it needs. Spark, fuel, it's running. All right, let's disconnect the battery, get that bad boy out of our way, and then we'll throw some plugs in this thing. Woo, this is gonna be good. All right guys, based on how easy that thing just turned over, I have a feeling that it's not gonna take much to crank it. Throw some plugs in it, throw some wires, change the cap, rotary button just because it's all new. And then we're gonna cut the fuel line, get the fuel pump put back in place. An electric fuel pump, I'm not worried about the mechanical one. You know, I might just, let's try to do it. Let's try, nah, I think it's a bad idea to crank it with the old fuel. I really do. I'm torn. We'll figure that out when I get to that point. But anyways, so here's the plugs All the gaps are supposedly correct, so I'm not going to sweat that right now, but I'm going to start them by hand and get them put in real quick. All brand new spark plugs, but the last plugs did not look bad, so let's get them all started by hand. All right, got them all started by hand. Now let's take the socket and just tighten them back down. I don't feel like I'm even on that plug. Let's see. Ah, there we go. Now everybody always asks me, well, how tight should I put spark plugs? Should I crank on them? Is there a torque? I'm sure there is a torque setting. However, let's see if I can show you. On the Fords, they usually have ring. No, I guess these don't have rings. So on the Ford 300, they don't have a crush ring. So essentially you just need to tighten them down till they feel really snug. I mean, you can go look up the torques, and if you want, I'll put it up on the screen somewhere, you know, what the torque on a spark plug should be for a 300, but ideally I don't think anybody really does it that way. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple people out there in 300 land that are fussing at me jumping up and down right now, but you know, so be it. Never fails, always goes to the ground, right? Always. All right, so I dropped the socket while I was doing the plugs right there. While I was tightening down the plugs, I dropped the socket. It went all the way to the ground. And I have been climbing under this thing, looking everywhere for it. And I just happened to look up in my driveway. Man, that thing rolled. At least what? 15 feet? That's impressive. That's impressive. All right, let's get back to putting these plugs in. All right, the next part is going to be the cap and rotary button. That one will be fairly easy. You can see the cap. Let me see if I can get this camera right. I think you can see it right there. You can see on this cap, it's just got two little springs, and you can just pop those off. That was a little harder to get to, so boom, just like that. Ooh, look at the goo on that one. Nice. And this is the rotary button, and it should just pull right out of there. Now, to put this back on, I don't know if you can see it or not, there's a little like groove in there that goes down onto this groove. Fairly easy, nothing overcomplicated. Just take it and get my arm out of the way. Line it up, push it down. That one's done. Then you take the cap, and you've got this little guy here, and you also have the little tits on it. So what you do is you figure out where that goes. And that should go right like that. Snap it back on. Snap it back on. And that's that. Cap and rotary button done. Alright, so after a quick Google search, you'll see right there firing order for a Ford 300. I mean, it can't be that complicated. And then on the distributor cap, there's actually, here's the old one, but you can see the 1, which is pointing down. So that's all there is to it. You just start putting the plug wires on, start at 1 and go, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Thought it did, making sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to the back. So let's put the wires on and see if this baby will crank. Now typically plug wires will not be labeled, so use some common sense. Basically, I like to grab them all by the boot end. That's going to be your coil wire, because it's the only one with almost 2 different ones. These are going to be your actual plug wires. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Seem to be missing one here. I'm sorry. That's your coil wire. And that must be one of the plug wires. So it's kind of different boot, but and then just start putting them on, figure out which is like the longest one will reach and go from there. So, and that looks like my longest one, so it is going to become 1, I think. Alright, so, and the last wire that we've got to deal with is the coil wire. So, and it goes from, let's see if I can show you this. There's no room to work in here really. And it goes from the top of your distributor, let's fish that bad boy down, right dead in the center, all the way over to your coil. This has, yeah, right there. I don't know if that's the correct wire, to be honest with you. I feel like I'm missing a wire. I'm pretty sure AutoZone got me on a wire. Alright, so we're going to use the old coil wire for now. Same process. Goes in the middle. Just like that. Goes here, over to the coil. Now, I just figured out what's going on, and I'll explain it. Get out of this thing. So when I went to get these wires, he didn't have wires for a 67 Econoline, but he had wires for something else. However, I don't know what year this engine is. I need to pull the numbers and look it up. But with that being said, it has a newer coil and it has newer electronics on the engine, which is a plus. So, but that would make sense why I don't have the correct, the correct wires for this thing. So anyways, wires are done. That's exciting. That's exciting. Okay, time to see if it'll crank. Let's do that. We're gonna put some fuel down the carburetor. Actually, just gonna squirt it with some starter fluid and crank it and see what happens. All right, so I've got the battery now hooked up. We've already put brand new plugs in it, brand new plug wires minus the coil wire. That was a little bit crazy. New cap rotary button. And what I'm gonna do before I fool with the fuel is I'm gonna give it a squirt of starter fluid and then hit the key and see if it'll crank. You ready? Let's give it a good dose. All right, here we go. Now remember, this hasn't been cranked in about 15 years. Did you see that? It started right up. Yeah. I don't care if you're a Chevy man. That is awesome. That Ford 300 is probably one of the best engines ever built. Woo! Man, that's impressive. Now, I want to hook up a fuel system to it. I just want to use a fuel can or a fuel cell. Like I said, I've got everything for that. The big issue is, you remember when we put the Marvel Mystery oil into the cylinders? Well, all that's leaked down into the oil. Now, I don't really want to run it with that oil. I need to change that oil, and I also need to make sure I put some coolant in that radiator before I run it too much. But man, did you hear it? It cranked right up. Woo! We might be driving this thing soon. Oh, well, wait a minute, we'll probably need brakes. Anyways, guys, thank you for following. That's gonna end this show for right now. All of the stuff that I use, I'm gonna start putting in the link down below. It is gonna go to an Amazon affiliation link, and it doesn't cost you anything. If you go there and buy something, or if you click on my link to one of those products and then you buy something else, it still helps me out. So if you don't mind, if you're going to use Amazon anyways, click one of my links and go there and buy some stuff. So happy, so happy. Anyways, like, subscribe, and keep sharing, and I will be back with you probably tomorrow so we can change the oil in this thing. Man, that's a good feeling. Talk to you later.